Okay, yes, we are live everywhere here on our webinar platform, also on our YouTube channel. So welcome everyone. My name is Olena Gryniuk. I'm CE Director at the SME Banking Club, and I will be your host today. And today we decided to discuss the topic of ethics and inclusivity with digital onboarding. We all know that with the development of digital channels, the pressure for financial institutions to streamline their onboarding processes and to improve customer experience is mounting. So let's discuss today ethical challenges and risks inherent in digital onboarding. What are the ethical practices and also what inclusivity in digital onboarding means? And my guests today are Javier Barrachina Gimenez, R&D Director at Facephi, and Victor Jaszczak, CEE Director at Facephi. And Facephi is a company that provides biometric and digital onboarding solutions worldwide. So welcome, Javier and Victor.
Hello everyone.
Welcome, thank you.
Nice to see you again.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here with all of you.
Yeah, glad to have you. Before we go to the topic, let me very shortly mention the organizational information. So we plan our webinar for 30 minutes. We are recording this webinar, so right after we finish, you will receive the link to the video and presentation itself. And we start with the presentation. And after that, we will be ready to answer your questions. So please type your questions in the chats just at once when you have them, and I will read them when we start our Q&A session. And yes, so let's do this webinar interactive. Let's go to the topic, and Javier and Victor, I'm ready to pass a mic to you. So please.
Hello. As Olena said, so I think we are going to talk about a lot of interesting things, and sometimes maybe are hard topics or easy, as you want to see. We will talk about digital onboarding and also artificial intelligence that are very trendy right now, and ethics regulations that it's very important, and how we can how we can build trusted solutions. So as Olena said, we are working in Facephi. We are placed around the world in Latin and Asia and Europe too, in EMEA, and it's our aim to protect the digital identity of the users. If you see the news lately, how fast is everything growing, the digital services that every time are demanding more data from the users, the authenticity of the users, and it's normal to see how fast is going everything, because the technology is every day cheaper and is more accessible, and the data that it's created is becoming massive, and this is generating that the technologies that are using AI, so people calls that the fourth era of the industrialization, are becoming each time better, and the accuracy that are achieving are incredible 10 years ago. So its time is becoming, is demanding, users are demanding, and the companies are demanding to be more efficient when enroll their users. And those companies that are not doing it faster and better, and they are losing customers and they are losing business opportunities. So it's crucial that the companies go this trend and add the new technologies that are appearing almost every day. So in the case of Facephi, we are helping companies to be more digital and digitalizing the processes to know their customers, to know who is on the other side. Every day it's normal. So doing everything remotely and sometimes unattendedly. I remember years ago when I had to go to the bank branches to do everything, and now it's out of the equation. So Right now, everything is done remotely. When you open an account and they need, because the regulation asks this information, this personal information, how can we do it in remote? I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with the term of digital onboarding, but the idea is in the concept, the solution that we provide is easy. We detect everything of the ID document. I'm afraid that the video is not working. I'm sorry, but there is a video. There were a demonstration on how easy is working a digital onboarding, and using these latest techniques on biometrics and latest techniques on recognizing everything in the document, the text, the name, comparing the data in the front and in the back, the PDF codes, the MR set, with all the information that we have, the geolocalization, security measures, we can provide this information to our clients, normally our banks, but it can be applied in other needs. We can know who is the user that is in front of the camera. So, but it's not only a question of security, and it's not a question of accuracy, but also the user experience. So if you want that your users adopt this technology, it has to be very fast, it has to be secure and inclusive. And it's all of them are points that maybe we can speak about them in detail. So, and what's happening lately in the news? So every day I read news related to the advances of AI. So you probably ChatGPT, how the images or new images are generated in the generative AI, the new techniques in biometrics, voice recognition, automatic translates of podcast, and a lot of things that are amazing, and it's nice to see these advances in the technology. But what happens when this technology is in the bad hands? No, so a lot of problems can happen, and I didn't want it to bring here serious problems. But in the case of Tom Hanks, it's a bit. I think it's not funny, but it's not super hard problem to solve. But he was complaining about a dental company was using an authorized version of him to do advertising of a dental company, but it can be used in more darker purposes. So in Spain, last week, 2 weeks ago, they were kids using this technology to make deep news of other kids, and it's something hard. The technology is not. We have to control that. It's very hard to see those things. But more terminal problems that we have to face are those related to the spoofing when the digital identity is stolen, and sometimes they use deep fakes. So this is something that is happening right now, and if you are not protecting your company or technology, the bad guys will do this kind of attacks, and it's something that it's real. It's something that is happening if you are not protecting against that. So it's question of time that this technology that in Hollywood are using to create digital twins, maybe it's something that the common public, general public will have. Maybe it's a question of years, maybe it's a question of months, we don't know. But right now it's easy for us to detect this kind of deep fakes, but maybe one day it will be harder. So maybe we have to take care about these things. Before going deeper on these ethical topics, I would like to have a brief explanation, very brief, don't worry, about how AI is working. So very briefly, these digital brains, these artificial brains, are composed by artificial neurons in the same way as the brains, of the real brains, and they need a lot of data to learn. We have to guide them to deciding if these decisions are good or not, and if the classification they do or the tasks that they are created to are well performed. So, sorry, if we are saying that the data is very important and we have to provide this data and we have to take care about this design, how important is the data that we use? So of course it's super important. It's one of the most critical parts when we are designing artificial intelligence. So the data has to be very good quality. We have to avoid biases in the data. This data that the companies are creating, generating, or recording has to be secure. In the case of Europe, we are following the GDPR rules that are very strict. And in Europe, we take a lot of care of these things. And the most important things are the consent. So the users has to do explicit permission, has to give the permission of the data, and it's the owner. If they revoke the use, the companies has to do it. And the management of the data in the companies has to follow protocols, access security systems, the distribution and the storage has to be controlled. It's very, very, very important. So there are ISOs, the 27,000 that control these parts, but it's critical that this information has to be secured in the company. And also the minimization. That means that if you give permission of your data to a company in one purpose or few purposes, they only can use this data for that reason and always in your benefit. So it's super important that the good practices are followed by the companies, and we have to build this transparency, because in the end, if the users don't trust us, they won't use the technology. So it's super important. And going deeper into these new regulations that are being created, before I would like to comment another news that I read, that 63% of Americans want to regulate this super intelligent AI or the general AI. That is something that every day we see how fast are they learning, how the amazing things they can do, and what will happen if we don't control these companies or this information. So even the Americans that are demanding this kind of regulation. In Europe, we have the new AI Act that it's coming for 2024. And the most important things that we have to take into account are, or the basis are, they focus on transparency, fairness, accountability, and security. What does they mean? The transparency is how the decisions are taken, how we can explain the user why the decisions are being taken, and also if something happens, the companies should know what's the problem, or where is the problem, or how can it be fixed. And the fairness that we talk about, the biases, it's critical that we don't reproduce the human problems. So the AI should imitate the humans, but no amplifying our mistakes. Also, the accountability, as we said before, if these artificial brains are trained by us and we provide the data, they don't have autonomy. So we are the owners of this technology. We are the responsible for the decisions, and also the security. Probably the most important is that this technology can't hurt people or can't hurt the environment. Also, these regulations classify or will classify technology in 4 ranks, and the minimal is the one that is not necessary to be regulated. Then the others can achieve the latest rank, that it's the unacceptable, and it will be prohibited. Imagine the score ranks of people scoring the ranks and technologies that are performed against the users. But it's a topic very long to explain, and it's I think it will be nice to have a webinar exclusive for these topics of the AI Act. But going to something that we can control and we can manage right now. So can we do an ethical onboarding? Of course. So as we said, and as you know, this digital onboarding, it's conformed by this document recognition and these biometrics that can authenticate the users. So in the case of the biometrics, in the case, for example, in the facial recognition, so can we do ethical biometrics? I want to classify in two groups. The first one, how this technology can help the user. So this particular user. So the first thing is that has to be consented. So if I want to use biometrics in my bank, I have to give my consent. And because probably I prefer to use biometrics instead of hard passwords. So it's something that it will help me. But also the groups, reducing the biases, as we said. Normally the biases that we have are the racial, ethnic, gender, even age. So what happens with these older people? So we have to take care of them too. They need to control these applications. We have to make it them easier for them. Or maybe in the case of a mom that is carrying on a baby, so they can use the technology with one hand. So there are a lot of things that we can create and do to make it everything more inclusive and more accessible. And also, and I want to highlight the status. So what happened with the people with less resources that can afford expensive smartphones, expensive computers? They can be we cannot give out these people. So creating technology that can work in all the kind of devices. In our case, we have a lot of customers in South America and Central America that they have smartphones that are not so powerful as the latest iPhone that we have in America or in North America or in Europe. And we have to take care of them too. So how can we fight these biases? I like to separate different stages. The case of one of the most important are this prevention. So how can we train the team avoiding biases? How can we create good data sets? So it's hard, but they have to know how to do that. And also you have to create a multidisciplinary team, because sometimes these biases are in us. We inherit these biases. We are not aware that we have those biases. So having a representative team and having a representative data, it's the first step. Then we need to create good tests to detect these problems before going out. So this test has to be designed at the beginning. Then the evaluation, but this evaluation should be performed by third parties, companies, or audits, because it's probably that if you do this task, you will do the same error. So this third-party audit, in the case of NIST, they can do facial recognition evaluations, very deep, detecting biases in different groups, genders, ages. We have now a new experiment to test these presentation attack detections technologies. It's really new, and it's very important that companies go to this kind of evaluation and third-party evaluations. And the last one, because always the technology can be improved, no technology, no human are perfect. We have to correct if something is happening, and the best thing to correct is understanding where is the problem and who created this technology. If we purchase technology or we are not the owners of this technology, it will be very hard to fix that. So it's important that you control the AI team to perform these kind of corrections and improvements. It's something that can be or should be done periodically. I hope this can be clarifying, but we can discuss further topics. I'm not sure if we have time enough. Olena? Hello?
Yes, yes, yes. We are back to the room. Thank you very much, Javier, for this presentation. Of course, we have time for questions and answers, and I invite all the attendees, please type your questions in the chat. We will read them and answer them. Just wanted actually to comment and turn also the attention. You mentioned this case with Tom Hanks, and actually, if you haven't seen the latest season of Black Mirror on Netflix, and the first episode of the latest season, which is called Joanna is Awful, is actually about the deep fakes and usage of the deep fakes and digital clones, let's call it like this, in the television, and also how it harms the real life. So yeah, let's talk about global things in our region as well. Maybe Victor, I will switch to you for this first question, which, as you are responsible for the Central Eastern Europe and you know this region very, very well, which main challenges and concerns you noticed here, connected, of course, with the digital onboarding and biometrics, that you notice here in the CEE?
Yeah, thank you, Olena. Thank you, Javier, for a very interesting presentation. So I think the institutions in the CE region are mostly concerned about data privacy and the misuse of biometric data. So this is an ongoing issue and actually a very common question. So, but this also means the awareness around data and actually regulation compliance is high, which
Hello?
is good. And as Javier said, data rules in Europe are very strict, and that's a benefit for end users. So they are sure that the data is secure and they can pass this to the companies. Another more recent thing is the rise of AI, deepfakes, and spoofing attacks. So banks and financial institutions want to be sure that they can protect their clients against fraudsters and against different kinds of attacks, like presentation attacks or injection attacks. So they always want to check what kind of security measures are in place. How do we make sure, we check, how do we check that the documents presented in the onboarding process are legitimate, or is it a live person in the process? So there are, different questions at every step of the onboarding. And when we come to inclusivity, I think one of the most common issues I've heard is the status bias. So using older devices, older version of smartphones, we are often asked whether the system will support, smartphones that are 5 or 6 years old, because that's what their clients will be using. So you can think about older generations maybe using older smartphones, but also people from rural areas where you have worse access to devices, and maybe people in the age are less tech savvy. So we also know that rural areas can experience worse network and lower bandwidth. So we are often faced with a question: can the user actually complete the process online in one go? Whether they will need high-speed internet to finish the onboarding, to open the account, because maybe the access, the data coverage is worse in the areas where they live, compared to bigger cities where everything will be working perfectly. So I think these are most concerns I've seen, and they come up really often.
If we get back to the misusage of biometric data that you mentioned, as this is the first concern here in the region, what should providers like you which measures that should be taken? How do you confront it at Facephi? What should be done?
So it's a core problem, and it's normal. So years ago, I remember that the challenge was to recognize people, to do it with a high accuracy, but this was achieved years ago. And now the problem is it's more related to this presentation attack detection, or this kind of deepfake detections and attack detections, as said Victor, and it's something that we have to continuous improve and work on it, because normally the same techniques that we use to defend the users are the same that the attackants do against us. So it's something that we have to do daily, improve this technology. But right now we have these presentation attack detections that we ensure that the user is in front of the camera. It's real. It's not a paper. It's not a mask. It's not a deep fake. And also lately, some attackants or the fraudsters try to spoof the system, creating bypasses that it's called that is injection attack detection, that we try to detect, or we detect how they spoof the technology. So I can go very deep, because I don't want to say things that are secret, but we detect a lot of things we work with computer vision techniques, hardware techniques, devices techniques, but in the end, we have to assure our customers that this process was performed by the genuine user. When this user is in front of the camera and is the real one, then it's compared against the face in the selfie. But sometimes we can extract the picture of the chip of the ID card, that it's super hard to spoof. And we, depending on the project, depending on the kind of document, we are adding more security features every day. So we try to go farther, the bad guys, and also we can't stay quiet, because it's something that it's improving every day.
Okay. I would like here to pay attention that Nikki will see your first word of the question. So we're waiting maybe for the final one. So you're welcome. You're welcome to type it. Meanwhile, let's come back to the AI topic. And you mentioned, both of you mentioned that. So are there any other challenges except mentioned before in the terms of using of AI in biometrics, maybe global and here in the region?
What do you think, Victor?
Can you please repeat?
Yeah. So which do you see any new challenges except the mentioned before that concern the usage of AI in the biometrics in the region?
In my opinion, the most. I'm not sure. Are you there, Victor? I thought you were out. Continue, Victor. I'm sorry.
No, please go. I will follow.
I think the most important problems, we spoke about them before, that are these deepfakes, these presentation attack detections, are the real problems. Also, these biases that cannot include all the groups, but I think we are working on them. So these are the most problematic things, or the topics more trendy.
All right. We do have a question from Nikki, which I will read. So what are some legal avenues that a company can utilize to take action against fraudsters?
Being honest, I don't know. I am not a legal guy, and I'm not an attorney, but I'm sure that in our case, in the case of Facephi that provides technology to banks, they will have a very big legal department that they are in charge of taking responsibility of all the fraudsters. They have assurances that can help or can protect the users too. But I don't know what are these things that we can do. Maybe Victor.
Yeah, I'm not a legal either, but I think the best way is to prevent, because if you have correct systems in place, you will prevent attacks, or you will block them, before they make harm to the users. And in terms of pursuing legal actions, it has to be coordinated with the police, and then pursuing fraudsters farms. They are very agile. Fraudsters are very agile, so it will be difficult to catch them. So it's just better to prevent those attacks and and make your users feel secure.
Totally.
Maybe to have some final question. How actually, maybe practically, businesses can ensure the authenticity of the users, of the identities in our age, let's say, in our times of deepfakes that you mentioned, and cyber threats. What are the practical tips from your side
To avoid that?
Mm-hmm.
So of course, it's this prevention that Victor told. So you need to use these tools that are helping to combat this technique. So I said that it's easier for us to detect these deepfakes because we know how to do it. But maybe one user can't do that. Can do realize that this is a presentation. This is a deepfake generation. So every day we see our president saying strange things in the TV, not in the TV, sorry, on the internet when somebody is creating this deepfake. So if you see that the things that they are saying are not according to this profile, and maybe the artifacts that are generated when it's moving, sometimes it's flickering. The image is flickering, but this is something that it will be improved in the next months, in the next years. So the prevention is the best weapon, and also the teaching users that they can't trust everything. So it's very important to teach them in the new era of digital things. And maybe imagine in the metaverse that everything will be digital. So now at least we can see that these people or these faces are on a device or are on a screen. But when everything will be digital,
virtual even,
yeah,
virtual reality.
it will be even harder.
How do you see actually the application of AI in the future, meaning in the future banking processes?
So not only in the banking, but because I sometimes as I work here in a lot of innovative projects, for me the future is now. Sometimes improving these digital cities, smart cities, as we are doing, to guarantee the access to those cities, being the ones that protect the identity of the users that are in the car sharing. We have projects in Madrid to save energy and reduce the carbon impact, controlling the access in the sports events and ATMs, and a lot of things that they need to manage identities. We can help that. And also I think these processes will be even easier. So these self-sovereign identities, the digital wallets, that we control our identity, we control what parts of this identity we want to share. Imagine if we need to assure that we are more than 80, we only need to say if we are more than 80 or not. We don't need to provide the birth age, so the birth date, and a lot of things that can be more atomic and easier than the reusable identities and this decentralized management of the identity. I think, but I'm not sure if it's the future. Is right now the present, because we are working on that right now.
Yeah, the future is now.
Yeah, sometimes when I see this generative AI and how we can detect these deep fakes attacks, sometimes I'm amazed. So we are not driving flying cars, but this technology in the artificial intelligence is going super fast.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for today's session, Javier, Victor. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you, all our attendees. Thank you very much, and see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.